Inside the rotting ruins of America's largest ghost towns, the retail apocalypse explained. Silence of the atrium if you walk into a dying mall today. The first thing you notice is not what is there, but what is missing. The cacophony of voices, the heavy scent of cinnamon buns and pretzel dough, the distant thrum of pop music echoing from clothing stores. All of it has been replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. The fountains are dry, filled with dust and dead leaves. The skylights, once scrubbed clean to let in the optimism of the sun, are grime-streaked and yellowed. Security gates remain pulled down over storefronts, locked with padlocks that have not been touched in years. This is the phenomenon of the dead mall, a sight becoming increasingly common across the suburban landscape of North America. These structures, once the undeniable symbols of Western prosperity and consumerism, are crumbling. To understand why these massive empires of retail are turning into modern ruins, we must look beyond the simple explanation of online shopping and explore the complex history, economics, and sociology behind the retail apocalypse. The vision of Victor Gruen. It is impossible to discuss the death of the mall without discussing its birth. The concept of the modern enclosed shopping mall was largely the brainchild of an Austrian-born architect named Victor Gruen. Escaping the turmoil of Europe in the mid-20th century, Gruen arrived in the United States and found the suburbs to be isolating and car-dependent. He hated the lack of public space where people could gather and interact. Gruen's vision for the shopping mall was utopian. He imagined them not merely as places to buy shoes or appliances, but as the new town squares of America. He envisioned mixed-use facilities that included apartments, schools, medical centers, and parks, all centered around a climate-controlled retail hub. His first major project, the Southdale Center in Minnesota, opened in 1956 and changed the world. It was a sensation. It offered perpetual springtime, safe from the harsh winters or humid summers. However, developers took Gruen's retail model and stripped away the community aspects. They built thousands of malls strictly for profit, ignoring the libraries and schools Gruen had dreamed of. By the end of his life, Victor Gruen became a bitter critic of his own creation, famously stating that he refused to pay alimony for those bastard developments. The Golden Age and the Anchor Trap. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, the mall was the center of the cultural universe. It was the setting for movies, the place where teenagers went on dates, and the primary destination for holiday shopping. The economic model of the mall relied heavily on anchor stores. These were the massive department stores, Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, Dillard's, that occupied the large buildings at the ends of the mall. The logic was simple. These giant stores drew the crowds. Developers would often give these anchors incredibly cheap rent, or even pay them to be there, knowing that the foot traffic they generated would support the smaller stores in the middle, like the Gap, Radio Shack, or the food court vendors. The anchors were the engines of the ship, but this model had a fatal flaw. If the engines failed, the ship would drift. In the 21st century, the department store model began to collapse. Companies like Sears, which had once been the greatest retailer in the world, failed to innovate. They were stuck in the middle, too expensive to compete with discount giants like Walmart and Target, but not luxurious enough to compete with high-end boutiques. When private equity firms began buying these struggling retailers, they often loaded the companies with massive amounts of debt, crippling their ability to update their stores or improve inventory. As anchors like Sears and JCPenney began to close thousands of locations, the malls they supported were left with gaping holes. Without the anchors, the foot traffic vanished. The smaller stores, dependent on that traffic, soon followed suit. This triggered a death spiral from which few malls could recover. The perfect storm of collapse, while the decline of the department store was the internal wound. External factors were delivering the final blows. The most obvious culprit is the rise of e-commerce. Amazon and online shopping fundamentally changed how people consume goods. Why drive to a mall, park a car, and walk for a mile to find a specific shirt when you can order it from your phone in 30 seconds? However, blaming the internet entirely is an oversimplification. The United States is also a victim of overmalling. During the boom years, developers built retail space at a rate that far outpaced the population growth. The U.S. has significantly more retail square footage per capita than any other country in the world, roughly 5 times more than the United Kingdom or France. There were simply too many malls chasing too few dollars. Furthermore, the Great Recession of 2008 left deep scars on the spending habits of the middle class. Wages stagnated and consumers became more price-conscious. The mid-tier mall, which catered to the middle class, had no audience left. Luxury malls continued to thrive, and discount centers prospered. But the average suburban mall found itself obsolete. Culturally, the shift was just as profound. The younger generation, Gen Z and millennials, began to value experiences over things. Money was spent on travel, dining, and festivals, rather than on fast fashion or home decor. The mall, once the coolest place to be seen, became viewed as uncool, artificial, and wasteful. The aesthetics of decay there is a strange, haunting beauty to a dead mall that has captured the imagination of photographers and urban explorers. These places are often described as liminal spaces, transitional thresholds that feel unsettling when empty. A mall is designed for crowds. It is designed for noise and movement. When you remove the people, the architecture feels wrong. The wide hallways feel too big. The artificial lighting feels aggressive. In many abandoned malls, you can find time capsules of the past. A movie poster from 2004 still hanging in a glass case. A dusty Christmas wreath left behind from the last holiday season the mall was open. Weeds growing up through cracks in the terrazzo flooring. It creates a feeling of anemoia, a nostalgia for a time you may never have known, or a longing for a past that can never return. These ruins serve as modern-day memento mori, just as ancient Romans built ruins to remind them of the fall of empires. Dead malls remind us of the fragility of our own economic systems. They stand as monuments to a specific era of American consumerism that burned bright and burned out quickly. The future of the concrete box, what happens to a dead mall? It is a question plaguing city planners across the country. These structures are difficult to repurpose. They are massive, windowless bunkers surrounded by oceans of asphalt parking lots. Demolition is expensive, often costing millions of dollars before new construction can even begin. Some malls have found a second life. In some cities, the land is valuable enough that the mall is scraped away to build luxury. Apartments or mixed-use open-air town centers, ironically, returning to the original vision of Victor Gruen. Others have been converted into community colleges, medical clinics, or corporate offices. A more dystopian trend is the conversion of dead malls into fulfillment centers. The very force that killed the mall Amazon is now moving into its corpse. The hollowed-out shells of Sears and Macy's are being filled with conveyor belts and robotic sorters, turning the consumer playground into a logistics hub. Close to the public. Conclusion: the death of the American mall is not just a story about business. It is a story about how we live. It reflects a shift in our values, our economy, and our community structures. For those who grew up in the neon glow of the food court, the sight of a boarded-up entrance brings a profound sense of loss. We mourn not just the stores, but the memories created within them, the first dates, the frantic holiday shopping, the simple act of being together in a shared space. As these retail giants fade into history, replaced by digital storefronts and delivery trucks, we are left to wonder what will replace the third place. Where will the community gather now? The dead mall stands as a silent witness to this transition, a concrete ghost haunting the edges of our cities, reminding us that nothing, not even the mightiest, retail empire lasts forever. The existence of the Hall of Records changes how we view Mount Rushmore. It transforms the monument from a static piece of art into an active attempt at communication with the future. It highlights the hubris and the foresight of Gutzon Borglum. He understood that all civilizations eventually fall, and all physical structures eventually crumble, while we cannot walk into the room, stand under its vaulted ceilings, or read the porcelain panels ourselves. Knowing it is there adds a layer of mystery and depth to the mountain. When you look up at Abraham Lincoln's face, you now know that directly behind him, deep inside the rock, lies the heart of the monument. It is a hidden library of democracy, a secret kept safe by the mountain, waiting for a future that we will never see. The Hall of Records stands as a testament to the human desire to be remembered. It is a declaration that we were here, that we built something great, and that we hoped the future would understand us. In the end, the secret room is not just about American history. It is about the universal human fear of being forgotten and the extreme lengths to which we will go to leave a mark that lasts forever. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, learned something new, or simply want to see more content like this, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly helps the channel grow and reach more people. And if you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video.